Good evening. My name is Adam J Reeb. I am from Austin, Texas, and I'll be discussing the evolution of the horror genre. The definition of horror is an intense feeling of fear, shock, or disgust, a thing causing such a feeling, intense dismay. From the dawn of communication, there has been stories to be told, and with those stories come those about the supernatural or monsters. We as humans, we love to be scared. Why else would we go see horror flicks? The Gothic era of story writing came with supernatural books and writers like Bram Stoker and Mary Shelley, brought about two of the greatest stories of all time with Dracula and Frankenstein. Your mystery, your Horace Walpole's The Castle of Otranto. These types of stories reigned at the top for years. Bram Stoker's Dracula to this day sets the standard for what a great vampire story is. Your 19th century masters like Nathaniel Hawthorne, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Edgar Allan Poe. But these are books, you are saying. We are here to talk about the horror film. Yes, I know. While these may be just books, many of today's great horror films are derived from these famous books and writers. The first horror movies, of course, were silent. They had uneasy music, creepy, shadowy figures. One of my favorites is Nosferatu. Scared the living hell out of me as a child, but I still love it to this day. The first horror film on record is Le Manoir des Diables in 1896. It used wires, quick cuts, still photos to give the illusion of a bat flying in, or a vampire appearing out of thin air, or ghosts. Horror evolved over the next few decades by adding in vocal speech. With the addition of vocals, the scream was one of the most uneasy things to hear at the time. The scream brought about the era of the monster movies, like Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, Freaks. These are all great horror films, and they helped pave the way for future films. The 50s brought about the creature films like Godzilla, King Kong. These were your typical drive-in movie theaters where one would take their dates on a cool evening. We moved from the creature films to the scream queens in the 60s. One of the greatest films of all time is Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, a story of a man who runs a motel and preys upon women during their most vulnerable moments. This brought about fear of staying in motels for sure. The 70s and the 80s brought us those eerie films about children, demonic possession, odd individuals, what lives beneath the water and in outer space. The Exorcist, The Shining, The Stepford Wives, The Thing, Jaws, all laid a landmark for us as avid filmgoers. With the end of the century only a decade away, we were left with those we hadn't seen. Seven, The Silence of the Lambs. True horror that made us question if those were actual films or if we were watching something really taking place. The gore, the realism, played a huge part in the evolution of the genre. The new century upon us, we are forced to revisit some of the old along with some of the new. Movies about viruses, zombies, POV style films all bring something very similar, but also something new to the table.